Hey, what's up, guys? This is Benny Ricciardi with rotocurve.com, and I'm here with our Benny's Bat section for today, Saturday, August 15th. I'm actually getting ready for my niece's birthday party today, so I wanted to get this out to you guys nice and early. So let's get right into it. Jerome Williams is the first guy we can talk about. 332 batting average to right-handed bats with 16 home runs in 54 innings, and lefties are hitting 311 against him as well. So you can look at guys like Adam Lind, 387 WOBA, 232 ISO number. Chris Davis with a K hit another home run yesterday. This guy's been on fire. 362 WOBA, 229 ISO. And even a guy like Brian Braun, whose numbers aren't all that great against right-handed pitching, but he's got a 348 WOBA, 211 ISO, and is one of the better hitters on that Milwaukee team. So I think all three of those guys are going to be in play today. Brad Hand from Miami, the lefty. Right-handed bats are hitting 276 against them. You can look at a guy like Randall Gierchuk, 355 WOBA, 240 ISO number. A guy like Johnny Peralta, 346 WOBA, 252 ISO number. They're probably the two bats on St. Louis that make the most sense, although St. Louis doesn't hit left-handed pitching very well, so I don't know how many guys you really want to target against Hand. He could be a sneaky good starter today against them. Next guy we can talk about, Tyler Duffy. He is a rookie. Only pitched 2 innings in the major league. He gave up 6 earned runs in those 2 innings. Was against Toronto, who is a very good offense, so I guess you can kind of excuse him if you want to. The only guy that really profiles well against him, Michael Brantley, 383 WOBA, 168 ISO number. So he's definitely the one guy I would look at. You could probably also take a look at some of those other left-handed bats. Guys like Jose Ramirez has been a popular choice lately. Lindor, there's a lot of guys that you can look at. It depends how you feel about Duffy. He's, a big prospect. He's supposed to be pretty good. His numbers were really good in the minors. He only gave up 1 home run in the minor leagues in about 80 innings pitched. And then he came up and gave up 2 home runs against Toronto in 2 innings pitched. So I think he is a little bit better than his numbers show in that first start. But again, it depends how you feel about, about the young starter. Next guy we could talk about, David Holmberg. Another guy who's, a young starter making one of his first starts in the major leagues. Right-handed bats had been the way to go after him in the minor leagues. He is a left-handed pitcher. I think that puts guys like Kiki Hernandez in play again. You got Van Slyke back in play. Justin Turner returned yesterday. He had a good game, so he's somebody else you could consider. And Yasiel Puig is the last guy. All these guys have really, all these guys have really good WOBAs against left-handed pitching, so I think all of them are guys that you should consider. Josh Tomlin, another young pitcher, is going up today. Right-handed bats are hitting 314 against him with 7 homers in 47 innings. Left-handed bats are only hit about 250 against him. So I think the righty on righty is the way you want to go. One guy on that Minnesota team who does well righty on righty is Miguel Sano. He has a 457 WOBA and a 356 ISO right now in righty on righty matchups. So he's definitely somebody I'm going to be looking to put into some of my lineups today. John Gray, right-handed pitcher from Colorado. In minor league baseball this year, which is where he pitched most of his innings, left-handed bats hit 287 against him with a 1.55 whip, and right-handed bats hit 278 with a 1.45 whip. Now, he did pitch in that Pacific Coast League, so that does affect his numbers. One guy who I would look at on that San Diego team, yesterday we said we liked a guy like Upton and a guy like Jorko, and they both had pretty big games. Today, the guy that I really want to target is Justin Upton. I'm sorry, we had Kemp and Jorko yesterday. Today, the guy that we want to target is Justin Upton. Justin Upton is better in the righty on righty matchups. The other two guys are better in lefty righty splits. So with a guy like Upton, he's got a 364 WOBA, 220 ISO number. Again, you could look at basically anybody on that San Diego team. They are playing in Colorado today. Coors Field is the friendliest hitters park in the league. Definitely a good spot to look for to get some upside today. Next guy we can talk about, Mike Folty-Newitz. The Atlanta pitcher has been one of the worst in the league statistically this year. 326 WOBA, 2 left-handed bats, 7 homers in 33 innings, 289 WOBA to right-handed bats, another 7 homers in 39 innings. So there's a bunch of guys that we can look at on that Arizona team. Both sides of the plate, everybody's kind of in play. You got a guy like Paul Goldschmidt, 417, 227. Wellington Castillo, 414 WOBA, 325 ISO number. David Peralta, even though he's banged up, he did play yesterday, 388 WOBA, 239 ISO. And AJ Pollock, 362 WOBA, 160 ISO. I think all those guys are in play. You can even look at a guy like Yasmani Tomas. Definitely think Fulty Newitz is somebody you can stack bats up against, and I would definitely be looking to have some Arizona exposure. Next guy we can talk about is Andrew Kashner. He's on the other side of that Colorado game today. Left-handed bats are hitting almost 300 against him with 12 homers and 57 innings pitched. Cargo is easily my favorite choice here, probably somebody that's going to be in a lot of my lineups today. Cargo is 420 WOBA with a 322 ISO against right-handed pitching, and we already said that Kashner's struggling with those lefties, so Cargo is definitely my favorite play. Another guy we want to consider is Charlie Blackmon, 372 WOBA, 191 ISO. He's in play. And also Ben Paulson, 374 WOBA, 217 ISO. So all those guys are in play today. Miguel Gonzalez is the next guy we can talk about. He's allowed a 262 WOBA with 10 home runs to each side of the plate and about 60 innings pitched. So he's another guy that's been getting knocked around by everybody. But he plays the Oakland A's today, and I don't really love that A's team. I don't think they have a lot of big bats. The two big bats that make the most sense to use are going to be Reddick and Vogt. Reddick, 368 WOBA, 190 ISO. Vogt is a 360 WOBA with a 221 ISO. But neither guy is really playing well lately. So I think I'd be perfectly fine not using a whole lot of those Oakland bats. The next guy we can talk about, Charlie Morton. Excuse me. Left-handed bats are hitting 307 against him with a 172 whip. Curtis Granderson with a 386 WOBA, 231 ISO is probably the top option. Lucas Duda at a 348 WOBA with a 227 ISO is probably the other guy I'd consider. That's pretty much it for that Mets team, though. There's not a lot that I really want to get into. Next guy I can talk about, Chris Bassett. Left-handed bats have been the way to go after him. He's actually been really good in his last couple starts, so just be careful targeting too many bats here. Chris Davis with a 370 WOBA, 299 ISO, probably the best option. Manny Machado, 385, 232, even though it's the same handed split. He would be really the only other guy I would look to consider. Let's see, we got Brett Anderson going up for the Dodgers. Right-handed bats hitting 277 against them, 10 homers and 89 innings. And left-handed bats are hitting 272. There's a lot of guys in that Cincy team who profile pretty well against left-handed pitching. Todd Frazier, 404 WOBA, 404 ISO number. Did not have a great game yesterday. Eugenio Suarez, 395 WOBA, 293 ISO. Marlon Byrd, 377 WOBA, 237 ISO. And Joey Votto, even though it's a lefty-on-lefty split, he's got a 404 WOBA and lefty-on-lefty split. So he's another guy I think you can use. Next guy we could talk about, Matt Shoemaker. Right-handed bats are hitting 280 against him. They've given up 20 home runs already this season, 10 to each side of the plate. The only guy I really want to use against them is Eric Hosmer. Hosmer has a 400 WOBA with a 205 ISO number. Again, if you want to look at some of those other home run hitters on that Royals team, they could be in play. But remember, this game's in Kauffman Stadium, real tough place to hit home runs. So even though Shoemaker's somebody who serves them up, I don't know if there's a lot of guys I really want to target against them. Next guy is Justin Verlander. Verlander's been really, really good in his last couple starts. 2 of his last 3 starts, he's been basically lights out. So I don't know how many bats I want to take against him. Right-handed bats have been the way to go get him. 270 average, 5 homers in 32 innings this year. Again, if you're looking at right-handed bats on that Houston team, I think Carlos Correa is the one guy you really got to put in play. 368 WOBA, 247 ISO. This guy's as good as advertised so far, to be honest. If you're looking for lefty bats on that team, Preston Tucker's the one that stands out against right-handed pitching. 380 WOBA, 264 ISO number. Again, he hasn't been as good. He was hot for a while. He's kind of cooled off, but he would be the other guy I think you can look at. Colby Lewis, left-handed bats are hitting 274 against him with 10 homers and 85 innings. The only ones that they really have in that Tampa Bay team, you can look at John Jaso, 375 WOBA, 181 ISO, or Kirk Casale's numbers are pretty good in righty-on-righty matchups as well. 369 WOBA with a 368 ISO, so he does have a big ISO number so far. Jonathan Neese, next guy we can look at. Right-handed bats hitting 269 against him, 10 homers and 106 innings pitched. He is at home at Citi Field today, but there are a lot of guys in that Pittsburgh team that profile well against left-handed pitching. Francisco Cervelli, 439 WOBA, 218 ISO, one of the top catching options. Sterling Marte, 393 WOBA, 247 ISO. McCutcheon, 389 WOBA, 178 ISO. And Young Ho Kang, 358 WOBA, 194 ISO. So those are all four guys who I think you can look at. Again, I'm not looking to stack a lot of bats on this Pittsburgh team because they are playing in Citi Field. It is one of the fields that yields the least amount of runs in the entire league. So even though they got all these guys that are doing well, I think the only thing that really does is keep me off of Jonathan Neese today. I don't know if I want to have a ton of Pirate bats in my lineup. I try not to stack teams when they're playing at Citi Field. Let's see. We got Colin McHugh. It's the next guy we can talk about. McHugh has been horrendous to right-handed bats, even though he is a right-handed pitcher. 307 batting average so far this year, 10 homers in 73 innings. So you can look at a lot of these right-handed bats in the righty-on-righty split for Detroit. Detroit hits the ball very well, righty-on-righty. Miguel Cabrera came back yesterday, so his 428 WOBA, 214 ISO number are definitely in play. JD Martinez is a monster against righty-on-righty splits. 390 WOBA for him, 280 ISO. Got about 25 home runs in that split so far this year. So I definitely don't think this is going to be an easy matchup for McHugh, who's not a bad pitcher, but I definitely wouldn't be looking anywhere near him today, and I would even consider stacking some of those Detroit bats up against him. Jose Quintana is somebody who I think is in a pretty good spot today. Right-handed bats are hitting 296 against him with 10 homers and 114 innings pitched, and he's been absolutely lights out against lefties. So the two bats you worry about with that Cubs team going up against them are guys like Schwarber and Rizzo. They're both lefties, so it's not a good matchup for them. The best matchup for anybody who could bat from the right side, pretty sure Dexter Fowler's a switch hitter, but, 351 WOBA and a 109 ISO for Fowler is the best numbers that anybody has against left-handed pitching on that Cubs team. Cubs team is like fourth in the league in strikeouts against left-handed pitching. And I think Quintana might be a sneaky good start today because there's basically nobody else. I mean, Chris Bryant is the only other guy with even decent numbers, and he's a 337 WOBA, 214 ISO, which is not anything that's really, jumping off the page screaming, you got to start me. So if anybody in this game I'm going to be using, it's probably not the bats. I'd probably be looking a little bit at Quintana in some of my tournaments. Jimmy Nelson, next guy we can talk about. Left-handed bats are hitting 294 against him with 8 homers and 57 innings. Again, remember, Maikel Franco is hurt for this Phillies team now, probably won't be playing. So the only two left-handed bats we really need to look at are Ryan Howard, 348 WOBA, 242 ISO, and my man Cesar Hernandez, who I don't think he got the 10 points yesterday, but he did steal a base, did have a little bit of a return for you on DraftKings. And again, he's still very cheap, 33, 3,400, hitting up on the top of that order. So definitely somebody who could be in play. The last guy I want to talk about to target a couple bats against is Gio Gonzalez. Right-handed bats are hitting 281 against him, but he hasn't given up a lot of home runs so far this year. San Francisco is actually not a good hitter's park, doesn't yield a lot of runs, but they also don't hit very well against left-handed pitching. The best bat that they have is Buster Posey. 354 WOBA with the 174 ISO number. So he would be the one guy that I think you really want to consider and make sure you have in play. Not targeting any bats against Johnny Cueto today. Not really looking to target many against Archer or Arrieta. Patrick Corbin is in a pretty good spot today. Peavy's not in a bad spot. And John Lackey's another guy who's not in a bad spot. So I'm not looking to take too many bats against those 6. But that pretty much sums it up for our Benny's Bat section today. Remember, tonight, DraftKings is holding their championship. I think the Fantasy Aces championship is tonight as well. So there are going to be some big games going on. You can follow along with all that stuff if you get onto Twitter. I know everybody's been posting pictures, both Aces and DraftKings. If you're looking to try to get some big money yourself and make it into a championship, make sure you head on over to Fantasy Feud and check out their site. If you use the promo code Curve, when you sign up over there, you can get a 100% deposit bonus up to $500 and a free $25 in cash to use on the site from the Roto Curve community as well. They're the last site that still has a championship game going on. So make sure you get over there and check it out. I think there's still 13 or 12 or 13 seats left of their championship. So if you want a chance to play for some big money this season, that's probably the best chance you're going to get over there at Fantasy Feud. So thank you guys for joining us this morning for your Benny's Bat section. And as always, stay classy, DFS.